welcome to the Canada News with your host, Divya. Now let's take a look on the headlines. Ontario pharmacists waiting on AstraZeneca vaccine shipments. 46-year-old woman dead after apparent murder suicide in Toronto's East End. Large crowds show up for car meeting in Pickering. Now news in detail. Ontario's residents who received their first dose of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine between March 10 and March 19 became eligible on Monday to book an appointment for their second shot. However, some expressed frustration with the lack of available bookings and vaccine supply. Last week, a spokesperson for the Ontario Ministry of Health told around 1 lakh people received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine during that time frame. There are approximately 55,000 doses in the province set to expire at the end of the May. Ontario Pharmacists Association CEO Justin Bates said approximately 31,000 doses are located in community pharmacies. Bates told, "We started the planning process about 7 days ago, working with the distributors to determine where all of the remaining 31,000 doses are located. Public Health is reviving all the temperature locks, making sure that each of the doses that were recovered, they will be redistributed and are still good, not spoiled." After temporarily pausing use of the viral vector vaccine the week prior, the province greenlit the second dose on Friday. The pharmacy announced immediately applies to the Toronto, Kingston and Windsor, which were the part of initial rollout. A 46-year-old woman has allegedly been murdered by her husband at an East End Toronto home over the weekend before the 50-year-old man was found dead. Police say emergency crews were called to a home on the James Park Square near Brimley Road and McNichol Avenue at around 7:45 p.m. as part of the wellness check. The statement said when officers arrived, a woman was found dead in the hallway of a home. An autopsy later revealed the victim, who was identified as Daisy Sehgal, died after neck compressions. As police continued to search the house, investigators said a man identified as Anurag Kalwar was found dead in the basement of the home. The mayor of Pickering, Ontario has condemned a car rally that drew hundreds of people to a parking lot in the city just east of Toronto's, flouting provisional restrictions in the place to stem the spread of COVID-19. The event, which began at 2 p.m. and was organized by several car clubs, attracted over 300 vehicles to the Walmart parking lot on Brock Road, with that number steadily increasing throughout the night, said Durham Regional Police Services. The scene emerged on social media showing cars with the engines reviving as they passed through a large crowd. The driver of at least one car performed stunts doing donuts with the front doors open as a cluster of onlookers cheered. Pickering Mayor Dave Ryan said that the gathering violated COVID-19 restrictions. It disrupted the community with noise and traffic and put people in danger. A mask and sanitizer donation drive was organized by United Sikh and Sikh Motorcycle Club of Ontario at Glidden Gurdwara Sahib for frontline workers during the corona call. This week was especially for truck drivers and taxi drivers. About 5,000 masks and sanitizers were distributed during the drive. These organizations have been making such efforts for the betterment of the humanity from time to time. A total of 20,000 to 70,000 masks were distributed in Ontario in collaboration with the Sikh Motorcycle Club. 60,000 masks were provided in British Columbia and 60,000 in Alberta, 45,000 in Saskatchewan, adding that the services would continue in other locations in the coming days.
जी अज असीं इत्थे ग्लिडन रोड गुरुद्वारा साहब दे विच आए हैं जी। यूनाइटेड सिक्स अते सिख मोटरसाइकिल क्लब दे सेवादार ये असीं फेस मास्क अते सैनीटाइजर्स डोनेशन कर रहे हैं जी। साडे सारे फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर्स जिहदे विच साडे ट्रकर्स, टैक्सी ड्राइवर्स, कुरियर ड्राइवर्स, होम डिलीवरी ड्राइवर्स, उबर ड्राइवर्स जां PSW नाल जिन्ने भी फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर काम कर रहे हैं, जिहड़े कि अपणियां जानां जोखम च पा के साडी प्रोटैक्शन कर रहे हैं, सानू इस कोरोना दी महामारी तो बचा रहे हैं। असीं कोशिश कीती अज उन्हां दा धन्नवाद करन लई, उन्हां दे लई अपने वल्लों कुछ ना कुछ करना। सो साडे कोल तकरीबन 70,000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਮਾਸਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜੀ ਚੋਂ 5,000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਮਾਸਕ ਸੋ ਫਾਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰੇ 10 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਾਸਕ ਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਫਰੰਟ ਲਾਈਨ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਸੋ ਟੋਟਲ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 2,20,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿਕਸ ਚੈਪਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੋਟਰਸਾਈਕਲ ਕਲੱਬ ਦੀ ਪਾਰਟਨਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਡੋਨੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 60,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਅਸੀਂ BC 60,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਹੀ ਐਲਬਰਟਾ ਤੇ 45,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਸਸਕੈਚੁਅਨ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ 1,20,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਸੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ 30,000 ਰੀਜਨ ਆਫ ਪੀਲ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਮੇਅਰ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਮਿਸਾਗਾ ਮੇਅਰ ਬੋਨੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਂਬੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡੋਨੇਟ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ 15,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਲੰਡਨ ਅੰਟਾਰੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ 10,000 ਮਾਸਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈਲਥ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਡੋਨੇਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿਕਸ ਨੇ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਦੀ ਮਹਾਮਾਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੂਝ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਨਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਚਾਅ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਆਪਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ
ਔਰ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਵੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਦੀ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਘਟ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਮਾਸਕ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਜਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਔਰ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਔਰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਸਾਡਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਹੁੰਚਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਰ ਕੇ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਮੁਕਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ ਆਪ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟੈਕਸੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀਰ ਹੋ ਉਬਰ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਰੀਅਰ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਹੋ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਹੋ ਟਰੱਕ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਮਾਸਕ ਔਰ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਕਮ ਸੇ ਕਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਇਸ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਲਿਡਨ ਰੋਡ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿੱਖ ਅਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੋਟਰਸਾਈਕਲ ਕਲੱਬ ਦੇ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਈ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਲਾਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਟੈਕਸੀ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਰੱਕ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵੀਰ ਆ ਉਹ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ COVID-19 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਿੱਠ ਥਾਪੜਨ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਕਾਰਜਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੋਟਰਸਾਈਕਲ ਕਲੱਬ ਅਤੇ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿੱਖਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਸਕ ਦੇਣ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਮਾਸਕ ਅਤੇ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਮਾਸਕ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਮਾਸਕ ਸਵੇਰੇ 10 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 3 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ ਜੀ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਆਉਣਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਆ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਸ ਇੱਕ ਅਖਲਾਕੀ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਪੈਂਡੇਮਿਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਡਰੀ ਪਈ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧ ਕੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਸਮਝਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਮੋਟਰਸਾਈਕਲ ਕਲੱਬ ਅਤੇ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿੱਖ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅੱਜ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਮਾਸਕ ਨਿਕਲ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਟਾਲ ਲਾਈ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਮਾਸਕ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਸੈਨੀਟਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਣ
Toronto Mayor John Tory visited the pop-up vaccine clinic at Toronto City Hall. In the meantime, he provided information on the vaccine process in the city of Toronto and encouraged more and more city dwellers to get vaccinated. He also said that more than 19,000 appointments are being made for the vaccine in the hotspot areas.
Well, good morning. We're here at Toronto City Hall this morning, and I'm joined by Dr. Kevin Smith, the CEO of the UHN, which is one of our most distinguished among many healthcare organizations that has hospital brand names well known to you, Toronto General, Toronto Western, Mount Sinai, and with Councillor Joe Cressy, the chair of the Board of Health. And Dr. Smith represents a team of people who are here in the City Hall today that are drawn from the community and drawn from all parts of the healthcare system to operate a vaccine clinic. I think it probably would be the first of its kind here in the rotunda of City Hall. And it was his idea, I'll give him credit for that, and I immediately embraced it because I think there is nothing more symbolic and substantive than to have in the place that people are so familiar with in our city, the place where they can come, and they do come for celebrations and for vigils and for protests, that they can come here and get vaccinated. And we are, of course, urging people over the course of the day, starting about now, to come here. The province, Premier Ford and others have lowered the age of eligibility to 12 plus for those who wish to get vaccinated, so that we're encouraging families to come here as part of the cause that we're all engaged in, which is to get people to get vaccinated so that we can keep people healthy, most of all, but also so that we can reach those threshold levels put in place by the province to allow the city to open again. As of this morning, there are already thousands of people who have taken advantage of the change in the eligibility rules. And also, over the course of the weekend, I'm very heartened to say, because I started on Friday saying that we had 14,000 unbooked appointments in our city clinics, and that number has dropped down to now less than 5,000. But what that says is that there are still opportunities between now, Sunday, and Monday to book an appointment by going online at toronto.ca or using the phone number that I can't remember in my head, so I don't want to recite it. But it's important. It's important to the well-being of yourself and your coworkers and your family and your neighbors that you should get vaccinated. We're making such incredible progress as a city, and now we just have to keep the momentum going, even on a holiday weekend. And frankly, all these rules that are in place have limited the number of things that you can do, although there was some good news with outdoor activities this weekend. But if you need something to do, this is a really great thing to do for yourself, or take someone else who hasn't had a chance to go as yet and maybe just needs a little bit of encouragement. So I thank the people of Toronto for what has been a magnificent team effort we've all made so far, community health organizations, all kinds of people, and let's get on with making sure we have a big finish up to the holiday weekend where people come out in huge numbers to get vaccinated. And so on that, I will answer some questions, and I'll see if also my two colleagues here want to say a word as well.
Mayor, talk about the symbolic nature of this. I don't think anyone's been inside City Hall since this pandemic began, and now we're going to get people vaccinated here. You touched on it briefly. This is a place that's the beacon of civic duty here in our city. People come here to celebrate, they come here to grieve, and now they're going to come and get their first jab.
You know, it's interesting that most people may have been to Nathan Phillips Square for some fireworks or for a vigil or something like that, but many people have never been inside this building. And it is, I think, very important that people should know that we thought it important enough to open a building that has been closed during the pandemic for health-related reasons, but we wanted people to come inside. We wanted them to feel comfortable, to feel welcome, and to make sure this public space, the ultimate public space in our city, was being put to good use of the UHN and the other community organizations that are putting on this clinic today. And I should say that just to make it even more inviting, there's music.
Dr. Howard Naju, Deputy Medical Officer of Canada, provided information on the vaccine management in Canada. He also highlighted the major aspects of the vaccination process. Dr. Naju said that before the opening of the international border in Canada, it is very important to manage the vaccination process in the country and to vaccinate the citizens.
Well, first of all, I would say that we all recognize that Canada is a big country, and so it's difficult to put out guidance at the federal level that really applies to the whole of the country, because, you know, one region can certainly vary compared to another region. Having said that, in terms of the, I would say, aspirational goals that we put forward in terms of vaccination coverage, certainly we relied on our modeling experts. You know, lots of assumptions in there. If you saw our presentation a few weeks ago in terms of looking at different metrics. But at the end of the day, I think we're good. At least it's something that Canadians, I think, can relate to in terms of a target to shoot for the 1 dose and then 2 doses. And as we've always said, and I think that's what's playing out with the provinces and territories as well, is the fact that it's not just about the vaccine coverage alone. We want to vaccinate as many Canadians as soon as possible, you know, with 1 dose and then 2 doses. But in terms of opening up and, you know, loosening of restrictions, public health measures, that also depends on the local situation. You know, the epidemiology, you know, what's happening with community transmission, or what's happening with the healthcare system. Is it being overloaded or not? So, you know, those are all the factors in play that. Well, I would say yes, we don't really know a precise number in terms of pure herd immunity, but certainly based on the evidence that we have to date, the experience from other countries, including ourselves with our vaccine rollout, we're anticipating that you know, the herd immunity as far as vaccination and vaccination coverage, that would be good to shoot for. We recognize in Canada that overall, compared to other countries, we actually have quite a large percentage of the population that is still susceptible. If you look at other countries that unfortunately had a tougher time earlier, they may actually have a greater percentage of the population that has, quote, natural immunity based on having actually had COVID-19. So in Canada, I think it's much more important to actually improve or increase our vaccination coverage so that we do get that herd immunity. Well, I think we're well on track. As we all see, millions more doses are coming to the country every day. And certainly I think, you know, in terms of being, I think, fairly conservative, we would say that we would be able to offer all eligible Canadians their 2nd dose by the end of September. But you can see various provinces are already going out, and if it actually happens more at sort of towards the end of the summer, even early part of September, hey, that's great. So it's something I think that we'll have to wait and see because, I think in Canada, I think we're lucky. I think Canadians understand, respect the science, and want to get vaccinated. And so I see that there's a greater sort of motivation to get both doses here in Canada compared to maybe other countries where I think they've had trouble getting people to go for their second dose after receiving their first dose. Oh, definitely. Certainly when the recommendation came forward from our National Advisory Committee on Immunization, or NACI, he said that the dose interval could be extended up to, quote, the 16 weeks, but it certainly didn't have to be the case. And I'm already seeing it in different provinces. People who got appointments, initially for their second dose, 4 months later, they're getting call back saying, hey, we've moved your appointment up because now we've got more doses sort of, in stock and so on. So I think, yes, across the country.
Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister outlines the vaccine rollout process in the province. He called on the U.S. President Joe Biden to send more vaccines to Canada. He also announced that more public sanctions have been imposed in the province to deal with the coronavirus.
Like all border states and provinces, Manitoba and North Dakota have really strong ties. After all, 90% of Canadians live within a short distance of the border with the United States, and now that we're in a pandemic, that border should not be used to keep the cure for COVID out, but it is. About a month ago, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and I reached an agreement to have Manitoba truckers vaccinated in North Dakota. It was a good first step. We've now got over 1,000 truckers that have been vaccinated as a result. More to come. We led the way. Other provinces and states have followed suit as well. That's good news. Saskatchewan's working with North Dakota. Alberta's working with Montana. Ontario with Michigan, so on and so forth. But the best solution is not to have Canadians going across the border in small numbers for vaccines. The best solution is to have vaccines coming up from the United States in large numbers. The United States has millions of vaccines in freezers. They need to be in arms. Here in Canada, this is a call to arms. Manitoba is currently the North American hotspot. Our vaccine team has assured me that they could vaccinate an additional 100,000 Manitobans in the next 10 days if we had the vaccines here. We have trucks with freezers ready to go to points in the United States within a few hours to pick up those vaccines. We could have them back by tonight. We could be vaccinating additional Manitobans tomorrow. The best way to beat back the third wave is vaccines. Vaccines are the key. Thus far, President Biden has said no. I say, let's go, Joe. The right answer is yes. We need your help. And we need it now. Every premier, every governor along that border wants to restore our social and economic partnership, and they want to do it pronto. To do that, we have to defeat COVID. And we have to do it together. Canada and the United States have the world's longest and strongest partnership, not just economically, but socially as well. And that relationship has served to strengthen not only us, but the world. And that relationship matters.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should apologize to the Italian Canadians for that behavior which was done to them during the World War II. Is to say that the Canadians of the Italian descent who were affected during that time are also telling their story. In the meantime, they demanded has also reached Canadian Justice Minister David Lametti. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected almost every human being. The world has been struggling with this symptom for almost more than a year. due to which school children are also affected by the restrictions imposed by the governments. According to experts, students are also mentally anxious.
I haven't been able to meet with friends. I've had to stay inside all the time, and I haven't really had motivation to do anything since.
Over the past year, 70% of kids have reported that they have experienced poor mental health or worsening of their mental health. There's been a 100% increase in kids being admitted to children's hospitals for suicide attempt admissions, and a 200% increase in children being admitted for substance use disorders.
Many children are experiencing language delays as a result of their inability to interact with their friends, to go outdoors, to play, to do all of the things that are essential for a healthy childhood.
Pretty severely. I haven't gone to school in a really long time.
Do you miss life pre-pandemic?
I think about going out to restaurants and stuff, hanging out with my friends. Yeah, I just really want to be with my friends again.
We know through the research that outdoor play is so valuable for kids. We're also really concerned because a lot of the children in the city have basically not left their apartments since COVID started. So we really need to encourage children to go outdoors.
We want to see our leaders taking this seriously, to treat this as the crisis that it is, and to come urgently to the table to meet with experts, to hear directly from kids themselves, and to formulate an emergency plan of action to provide support for kids in the days, weeks and months ahead of us.
Large-scale vaccination against corona infection continue in Canada. As part of the campaign, about 50.08% of the Canadians received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine by noon and 4.3% the second dose. It also reports that the country of 38 million people have been given more than 20 million doses of the vaccine. According to the Public Health Agency of Canada, last week we marked some amazing milestone in the distribution and immunization coverage of the COVID-19 vaccine, including the delivery of the 4.5 million doses of the vaccine before the weekend and the delivery of approximately 20 million vaccine nationwide, included. Chief Public Health Officer Theresa Tam said on Saturday that as the distribution of the vaccine continues at the rapid pace, there is a growing hope that the COVID-19 vaccine can provide comprehensive and lasting relief. Benefits are being seen in the priority immunization target groups, and as vaccine coverage increases across Canada, we can expect more gains in protecting Canadians in the coming weeks and months, Tam added. Indian External Affairs Minister Shri Jaishankar arrived in the United States this morning. T.S. Trimurti, India's ambassador, tweeted and gave information. He will be touring the United States for next 5 days till May 28. He also said this is the first time that the External Affairs Minister has visited New York since India's entry into the UN Security Council on January 1, 2021. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar's visited in the wake of the COVID crisis is also seen as important in light of the India's vaccine needs, especially when the United States has announced 80 million vaccine doses. In that case, India will have to try to get a bigger share. Jaishankar is scheduled to meet U.S. Secretary of the State Tony Blinken, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and other senior Biden officials. This is the first time visit by the senior Indian minister since U.S. President Joe Biden took office in January. Jaishankar will hold talks with the U.S. Secretary of the State Anthony Blinken in Washington. He will hold bilateral talks with the members of the U.S. cabinet and senior officials of the U.S. administration. That's all we have in this bulletin. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updated news.